have back on our show after a several-year absence the founder of Historic Prison Tours and author of several books, including her latest, The Town That Shot Itself in the Foot, Judy Gail Krasnow. Hi, Judy.
Hello, Bart. It's so good to be here again.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Now, the town that shot itself in the foot is actually Jackson, Michigan.
Yes. I actually, when I started writing the book, because it's fictionalized, but based on the last 15 years of my living here, where I moved to be part of the Armory Arts Project, and the occurrences, the events, the characters, everything that happened was so powerful, so vivid, so memorable that it sat in me and it had to come out as a storyteller and someone whose words are my trade, and as you well know, who likes to talk. I had to write a book, and it's been 6 years in the making.
Wow. So I haven't read the book yet. There's a lot of pages. I mean, there's like
It's
500 and some. So am I in the book?
yes,
Oh.
but all names have been changed, but you'll know who you are.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, so a lot of the names were changed because, well, so you wouldn't end up in court.
Right, right. And, also as a writer, all the conversations I couldn't write word for word as they happened. So I took the essence of the situation, and my creativity, flowed, developing dialogue and scenes and so forth. It was a challenge, and you mentioned the 500. It is a longer book than most today that max are usually 420 or something. But if you want to know, while I was doing the historic prison tours, I had so many people come to me, write to me, call me, take the tour, and give me stories. And I wrote them all down and kept them. So when I actually finished the first draft, it was like Tolstoy, 3,000 pages. And I actually edited over 150,000 words.
Oh, man.
And I had to select the stories because they were all, just amazing stories. I got letters galore from prisoners, who had heard about the tours. And some of them sent me paintings that they had made under the Prison Creative Arts program. And so I have a room in my apartment. The whole wall is paintings by prisoners or former prisoners who gave me their paintings.
Awesome. So the Historic Prison Tours, it exists, it's thriving. Steve Rudolph and Jim Guerrero are continuing what you started by conducting tours of the old prison, which is the Armory Arts building.
Right. The thing that has not continued, as I'm sure you know, is the arts program, which was why it was started to begin with, just was not handled quite properly, to say the least, and fizzled. I mean, all the artists left. There are 3 of us living there now. Myself, Lou Kabeel, and Mary Jean Westerland. And Lou is the only one. He still has his studio and teaches classes.
Yeah, so the old prison, when it was redeveloped, was designed to be an artist. It was supposed to be occupied by artists tenants who were also artists, but it didn't turn out that way because of, well, for a number of reasons, but the state requirements for affordable housing, you couldn't be that specific. You can discriminate against a non-artist to live there, right?
You had to do first come, first serve after the very beginning. And also certain other involved organizations didn't promote the arts, which might have brought more artists who were first on the list, and they started, using our gallery that was supposed to be for art, for weddings and prom celebrations. So it turned into a very different project, shall I say, than what it was supposed to be. But when I was doing the tours, and I started them because people kept coming into the building. What was this? I've lived here all my life and never knew what was behind the walls and so forth. And because I was researching the history to tell stories, the office would call me, and it turned into a business. And at that time, because of my passion for it and going constantly to conferences and being a member of Circle Michigan, which works for Pure Michigan, I had 70 buses rolling into town and combination tours with other venues. So it was it was an experience. I'm very happy that I did it. I learned so much. I made so many contacts, and out of it, the inspiration came this book.
So the title, The Town That Shot Itself in the Foot, it's, as I said, it's about Jackson. So do you have to read all 576 pages to find out how the town shot itself in the foot, or are there multiple examples of?
There are multiple examples, and reading all the pages is because there are several narrators, so you get different perspectives. One of them is a ghost of prison past. It is not a ghost story, but that character, Lawrence Murphy, and I actually, when I went to the archives at the Michigan Historical Museum, there was a Lawrence Murphy. I based the character on him, but he's the link between the past history. There's a lot of genuine history in the book of Jackson. And then stories toward the end that were told to me that are absolutely, some of them are hilarious, some of them are gripping. So it's chock full of storytelling.
So there are people, I've read a couple excerpts, and I can recall, and it's been a few weeks since I read the excerpts, but as I read them, I thought, oh, well, I know who that is, or I know where that is. So some are thinly veiled, and some are complete fiction in terms of persons.
I made up, for example, marketing by various organizations, shall I call them, was somewhat of an issue in reality, but I decided I could have fun with it, and I made up a couple in the 60s, a hippie couple who must have been high on weed, because their last name was Cheatham. And the woman was expecting their first child. They were both expecting their first child. And they decided to name him Dewey Cheatham. And who would believe that when he opened his firm, his young, technologically savvy partner would be Damien Howe. So they called their firm Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe. You know, so I added humor and made up some things, but the general effect was based on reality.
Right. So people that live here, as they read this, they may recognize places like a restaurant. You might talk about a restaurant.
I changed names of restaurants.
Right.
Also, just because I didn't want to, I didn't want any real name other than the history.
Mm-hmm.
And the history would be, you know, like John H. Purvis, the night keeper who wrote a book that gave me so much information about how the prison was run, and Hannibal the Bear. And one reason, you know, at first when I wrote it, it was in the state of Bedlam in a town called Blightsville. But as I read it and was editing, it didn't feel right because all the genuine, factual history in it is Jackson. So I said, listen, it happened. Let's do Jackson. If you want, there's a short in the prologue, something that kind of sets the tone.
Mm-hmm.
I could read if you want me to, if there's time.
Is there time?
Yeah, we can do it.
Oh, yeah, there's time. You need the book?
Okay, I
All right.
need the book.
And Judy's done this before on our show as a storyteller. So essentially you're telling a little story.
Well, this is actually the end of the prologue, but it kind of sets the thing.
I never read the prologues, the introductions on the books.
Oh, this is part of the writing,
Oh,
and
wow.
Lawrence Murphy, the ghost, is the narrator of this prologue. It's not an introduction. Okay. 60 apartments and artist studios now stood where our cells had bound us in like caged animals. The studios smelled not of filth, fear, and feces, but of acrylic and oil paint, clay, blown glass, wood shavings from carved pieces, and iron welding. The construction transforming the old prison had stirred us spirits and unearthed the vitality of our energies that had lain dormant for so long. The architect repurposing the old prison exclaimed to spooked out construction workers, "It's a fact that E equals MC squared, as professed by scientist Albert Einstein. Energy does not disappear, but simply comes back in different forms. Be prepared to witness strange happenings. In my 40 years of renovating historic buildings, there is almost no ghost story I can't tell from first-hand experience. A building's history seeps into its very floors, walls, ceilings, and air. And thus, my spirit friends and I remain to witness what unfolded within the walls of our prison turned Jacktown art hatchery, and within the town that created it, or shall I say, attempted to do so."
There you go. That sets you up to find out what happens next.
What happens next?
And you
right.
mentioned Jacktown, but that's the name of a book, another book that you've written. And this is about the stories of prisoners that you collected from all your years of doing the tours.
Well, the Jacktown is history in hard times at Michigan's first state prison, which is what Armory Arts initially, it was the first state prison. So it is a history book published by the History Press that goes into how the prison turned Jackson into one of the 10 major cities in the country during the Industrial Revolution.
So it's all true. History.
That's all true
And
history.
it is. It's awesome. Well, you've done a lot of research to find out how this prison came to be, and so many people wonder, how did Jackson end up with the state prison?
It was a battle, believe it or not. Ann Arbor wanted it, and all the Lansing, because in that era, a big house, as prisons were called, you had the prisoners were cheap labor, and factories were within the prison walls. So it was a win-win situation, and it really did turn Jackson, into a leading city in the nation. The problem is when technology came and everything changed, that's when Jackson and thousands of other cities across the nation looked for a way to revive within, modern day technology.
Right. Well, this book, I can't wait to read it. I've read this one, and I've read parts of this. This is your first book about your dad, who was a songwriter, and he worked for Captain Kangaroo.
He was Captain Kangaroo's record producer and wrote the music, a lot of the music for the show, like the Captain Kangaroo March. But the main thing my father did was fight with Columbia Records to record a song that had been rejected by every single major record company. And Goddard Lieberson, my dad's boss, said, my father, Hecky Krasnow, he said, nobody's going to want to listen to it. And my father said, look, let me record it. If nobody listens to it and it fails, you can fire me. That song was Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and in 2 weeks of its release, made history selling 2 million copies.
Awesome. Well, you'll want to read all about it and everything else that Judy has written, and all these books, you can find them wherever fine books are sold.
Yeah, Amazon, Goodreads, Barnes & Noble. But in the next couple of weeks, Amazon is doing a real advertising promotion. So if you go online now and you put in Judy Gail Krasnow, my books pop up. Or if you put in the town that shot itself in the foot, it comes up, and it will be heavily advertised over the next few months.
Good luck with the book and everything. Great to see you, Judy.
Thank you. It's great to see you.
And can I say you just had a birthday?
Go right ahead.
Judy just turned 80. Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. I can't believe it.
I can't believe it either. Author, storyteller, entrepreneur, artist, Judy Gail Krasnow. Up next, we